So I'm here to tell you something about personal interaction and the importance of personal interaction. So bear with me, my voice is getting a bit groggy, so I'm hoping it's going to manage. So yeah, we are talking about the importance of personal interaction and why it's so important. Of course, in my business today, we look at our customer experience, which is the center of everything we do. But also, I want to talk to you about what's the. We heard Mo talk about the strategy and everything that's happening in the future, and we also see that personal connection is actually incredibly necessary, making that personal experience, which should be connected to what your brand really wants to say. So, as a brand, we also have a societal impact. Possible where we see sustainability coming up, but of course everything that we can do as a brand for society. So we have a personal view, we have a societal view, and on the last part I will talk to you about customer experience and how those two should be part of your of the way that you treat your customers. So we did something good, but we also made some mistakes. So I'll talk you through. So, of course, every good presentation starts with a quote, I think, or not. But what I really found good about this quote is the positive impact. So, personal interaction can actually have a very positive impact. And in order to interact, you need to connect. And so that is something I learned very early on in my career. So I'll take you through and see what I learned so far, because 15 years ago, I used to walk down the hallways of an academic children's hospital. I don't know if you've ever been to a hospital, I hope not as much, but in an academic hospital you see long grey hallways with a lot of doors. And when you walk around, you almost think that the whole world is ill. Unfortunately, they're not. But as a neuropsychologist, I used to work with small children who had brain injury. So you did a lot of research to see what was going on, actually all the analytics, making sure you have a clear picture, and then see how you can help them and how you can interact with them, making them better. So what's funny about the brain and what's good about the brain is that the brain is actually a lot of neurons, and they connect to each other. So when you have brain injury, the most important thing to know is that the brain is it has plasticity. So when you learn new skills, your brain is actually able to make that new skill yourself, making sure that you have a good functioning of health. So creating all those connections is essential, and I saw that when you interact with those children and help them connect better with their neurons, you can actually improve their well-being. And that's what really triggered me in that work. So, but you might question, how does a neuropsychologist end up at KPN? Well, I can tell you, because connection that I had as a neuropsychologist and that I saw in the brain is actually one of our key drivers when we talk about KPN. So our mission is we go all out to connect everyone in the Netherlands with a sustainable future. So I think we haven't been around then, I do think, but in 1881 we started KPN. And then we had our first interaction. So that was actually the first phone call that someone made to a central gateway, and they said, "Can you help me connect with someone else?" And that's the start when we offered telephone networks. And that personal interaction and wanting to connect everyone is actually looking at it from a brand and a societal perspective. And while we just said in the quote that every connection can have a positive impact, we also need to make sure that there are also a lot of connections that might not have a positive impact. Because 140 years ago, we had this one-on-one interaction, but now we have a one-to-everyone interaction. And we actually spend more time online, sometimes in a day, than we do offline. And so as a brand, we also are looking into how can we make sure that it is positive, because there are also risks. And that's why we also emphasize on a better internet. And I think it's necessary to take you through, because if you have this ambition to be the the brand that actually connects everyone, you also need to make sure that you have that risk, and you also need to make sure you translate it to all your customer journeys. So with the Better Internet, we looked and said, okay, what can we do to make sure that we are safeguarding this online environment? And to just give you a quick look, I want to just show you a video to see what we did. And also what for me is my guideline when I look at customer experience in a day-to-day business.
33% of teens engage in sexting.
Sexting is a normal and healthy part of sexual development of youngsters in this digital age.
But 1 in 100 teens fall victim to online shaming.
Uitgescholden voor hoer, slet.
Op dat moment zag ik het leven niet meer zitten.
Dutch telecom company KPN wants the internet to be safe for everyone. To reach Gen Z, we collaborated with the biggest singer-songwriter in the Netherlands, Mo, and wrote A Piece of Me, a song and music video based on heart-wrenching real stories. The film shows how forwarding without consent can ruin someone's life and shifts the perspective of blaming the victim to those who press forward. Within a week, the song trended on YouTube and Spotify. It even passed Beyoncé on the charts.
Een stukje van mij. Tu devais le garder, mais tu n'as pas fait ça. Je heb dit gebroken, een stukje van mij.
Sparking the largest ever nationwide debate about online shaming.
Daarom heel belangrijk is dat we zeggen van hey, stuur gewoon nooit iets door, want daar begint het probleem.
Alsjeblieft, denk na voordat je iets doorstuurt. Denk na voor je doorstuurt.
The film became part of the conversation in Parliament.
KPN is samenwerking met zangeres Mo, die ons met de neus op de feiten drukt.
And a month after release, a law was passed that makes online shaming part of the Sexual Crimes Act. Hundreds of schools now use A Piece of Me in class, turning our music video into education. But that's not all.
The UK version of the song called Piece of Me is about to be released.
A Dutch campaign now turns into a global mission.
So I think what's really important is to see what does your brand want to be, what does it want to become, and also when you see the power of interaction, you need to make sure that every day you have connection with your customers, you can actually make a positive impact. So translating this to our customer experience, because that's why we are here, right? We also look at what's the strategy for KPN and how do we implement wanting to be there for everyone, but also knowing that we are in a digital age and we need to be there where our customers are. So we have a strategy which is actually looking to combine, of course, all our channels, which is digital first. So we build everything digital and we support it with our human-assisted channels. So here you can see all our heroes, which of course is not the app per se in the first part maybe, but is our engineer, the people at our call center, and of course our retail stores. So what we do there is we make sure that everything that we design and develop, we do that from a digital point of view. So we build everything digitally. And then we look how can we create an extra experience when adding all our other channels, making sure that we create the utmost experience. So being in a digital world, we actually also look at what's the state of KPN, right? So we've been there for 140 years. And I think at the top, which was around 1900s, those people who were interacting everyone, connecting everyone with that one single interaction, there were actually 2,000 people in the Netherlands connecting a phone call that time. Well, we have a lot of customer experience people today in our call center as well. But of course, we see a world where people want to do things themselves. So we created in the past year a lot of self-help tools, making sure that customers can help themselves. Right? So about 80% of all our customers can do that by themselves, but a lot of people sometimes need some extra help. So, of course, you're here, see the app. So as an example of what we do when it comes to service is you can walk around with your app in your home, trying to see how your Wi-Fi is, if you can optimize so you can create your own better experience. But what sometimes happens is, do we really want to get into this digital transformation, right? So if we look at, of course, our friends, we looked at what do other telcos do, and we see, it's a bit of an abstract sign over here, but we see not only in the Netherlands, but somewhere else in Europe, we see that our human-assisted channels actually have a better experience than our online channels. So we are very much in a digital transformation, trying to optimize our digital channels. And that sometimes causes some problems, because also in the past couple of years, and I think Corona was also one of those years, we saw that people still try to, and I say people, but our customers, of course, still try to connect with us through our call centers or want to have an engineer helping them out. But we are actually in a world where that's getting more and more expensive for us as KPN. And also the labor market is quite tight. So we are looking into finding the best optimal situation to create that omnichannel experience, knowing that they do a very good job. So what we did is, I don't know if you ever worked for a contact center, because we are all digitally here, but it's actually quite impressive what people do there every day. But when a contact center is too busy, then all their quality goes away, right? So it's busy, everyone's busy. You get call after call after call, it doesn't improve. So what we did is we said, okay, can we help our customers actually do things more online? And so we started testing to see whether when people called the contact center, could we actually nudge them towards our digital self-help? Well, that really didn't work out because we tried to nudge them, sometimes stronger nudge than the other times. We tested everything. And actually what we saw is we created a lot of friction, right? So the people that wanted to call just wanted an answer and not a push notification towards our self-help. So that clearly didn't work. But we needed to come up and see what can we do differently in order to make sure that all our customers know about our great self-help, but also can help themselves. And also help the contact center, because that was one of the things as well. So we deep dived in all our data and also looked at other data. So I think here we have, of course, another view from our beloved Gartner. And they look with us and say, okay, how can you make things more seamless? And how can you actually help your customer, help yourself, helping your customer? So we looked and said, okay, maybe we do this from a different point of view. So now people are calling, and we look at that group, and then we say, okay, we need to nudge you towards self-help. What if we turn things around? So what we did is we actually said 80% of our people are already searching online. They're already looking towards doing things themselves. What if they don't reach their answer? We should make it very easy for them getting in contact with our contact center and actually make that win-win that we were talking about, because we want to help everyone out. So what we did, which actually did pay off, and I hope, I'm gonna go on to the next slide. Yes, there we go. So what we actually did is we said, okay, online, we should really enforce and empower that interaction that people are actually looking for, because they want to connect and they want to interact with us, and we need to help them get to the right answer. So we said, okay, everyone who's online and who doesn't find their answer needs a frictionless journey towards a contact center. And so we did. So we built Call Me Now, Call Me Later, or a scheduled callback. And what that does is it actually enhances or it actually improves customers, helping them find the contact center. And for us, it also helps because if you can schedule your call for the contact center, you also know that you can have the right ampli at the right time. The other benefit is that online content and online context for our customer, we can actually give that through to our contact center, making it a real win-win because they know where the call is coming from, they know what our customers did, and so we saw all our metrics improve. So to wrap that up, what I wanted to talk to you about is making sure that you know that in our whole life, from our brain to our person, we actually make a lot of connections. And in order to interact, you need to connect on a personal level. In order to have an experience, you need to know what the brand is and what it stands for, so you can actually make it real in every journey that you have. And of course, at the end, when you have an offline experience, you need to make sure it's seamless and a win-win. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you still want to connect with me or with your customers, whatever you choose. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eva. So now it's time for your questions. Are there any questions in the audience? We have people with mics running around. Is there a question? Okay, I'll give you 2 more minutes. I have some questions from the online audience here. One is around AI. Are you experimenting with AI to make your service more efficient for you and good for the customer?
Yeah, of course. So we do that in multiple ways. So I was talking to you about the on and offline world. So we do a lot of AI, well, actually in the reporting and everything we do to get the context from the online world into the offline world. So when a customer comes to our, Wi-Fi landing page, we know that we can connect them to a Wi-Fi expert in the contact center. So we use AI to do all the routing. And of course, we have our chatbot. So we're trying to see what can AI and Gen AI actually do to help our customers out. Yeah.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
In what way was Content Square irreplaceable as an asset in your findings?
Yeah, so we are talking with Content Square actually on the self-help part. So we're trying to start up a pilot, making sure that our self-help actually improves. So we see the biggest friction when customers are using our self-care tool. And so it's quite complex coming from a network service provider organization to get the right answer at the right person at the right time. So I think that's the biggest part.
So I have another question here. What were the main pain points? I mean, you talked a little bit about it, that some metrics dropped, but can you give some concrete examples on what was the frustrated feedback of your customers when you moved them to more online interaction?
Yeah, so I think I'm not proud of it, but I think there are some customers that they just turn up into a loop, right? So they already searched online, we didn't really notice. They start calling, and then we push them back online. And I think the feedback on that loop was not one I'm very proud of. So of course we learned from the feedback, and then we started implementing. But yeah, that was one of the bigger things.
Okay. Good. There's one last question we take. It's over there.
A question more internally in the organization. You mentioned the 4 connections, right? So the retail, the customer center, and the technicians, and online.
Yeah.
How do you structure that concerning the overall CX experience? Because I think you have an idea how you want to connect. So how do you spread that across those 4 ways of connection?
Yeah, so it's actually almost the essence of digital transformation. So what you see is if you want to, well, you can't really push your customers towards another interface, but you can also not push other parts or other channels towards a digital one. So we've really also looked for the win-win in that combination. So what we also saw, especially from a technician or an engineer point of view that comes to your home, if you already scanned your home, it's the benefits. So we are trying to look in what are the benefits that need to be there. When you don't have a good internet connection and you go with your box to the retail store, they can't really do anything because you're not at home, so they don't see what's going on. So we're trying to find use cases where everyone in the company can see how there will be a benefit. And that's especially the essence. So we really learned to do it use case by use case and try to get everyone on board. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.